it's Crafty Hope here. I am working on week 3 of the Seek, Gather, Create challenge on Instagram. I do have weeks 1 and 2 up if you want to see that. But I thought I'd, instead of doing the voiceover, do this real time because I kind of sped through the last one. So we're going to see how this goes. So the 4 things that that Lisa, Tina, Laura, and Melanie want us to seek and gather are an old photo. So I have these cuties. Oh my gosh, I love them. Something blue, and I have picked out a piece of old blue jeans. So we'll see how I can work that in because I've been saving them forever, and I was like, I need to use that. Some fabric. I guess that could have counted as well, but instead I chose some rust-dyed fabric that I had. Y'all, this is, it's some kind of Easter bag that I found at the Dollar Tree and rusted, and it rusted so beautifully, and I just need to break down and use it. And then a barcode, and for some reason I immediately thought of this set of rub-ons from Tim Holtz that have this bit of postal barcode at the bottom. If this one doesn't do well, I've got another set of these across the room, so I can still use that barcode. So those are my 4 items, and I'm going to, I think, work on this, which is another Dollar Tree item, is a canvas board. And this one is an 8x10. Sorry for the glare from my light. And I think this is what I'm gonna work on. So I gotta make some decisions about where I'm gonna start with this. Probably collage, man. But I'll get there in a minute. All right, let's see where we go. And I do start with some collage. Actually, I thought at first I was going to start using my Oohoo glue stick, but on that canvas board, I knew I needed something a little bit heavier, so I'm going to end up pulling out my matte gel medium because, can you see there, that just wasn't sticking. So I pulled out my fluid matte medium and my liquid matte, my fluid and my matte gel, and ended up just using the matte gel. There, those are the words I meant to say. So, and I'm just using a paintbrush, and I've got just some random things, but in this, I end up using the the items we were to seek and gather. I found a couple other items that I'm going to include in here beside the 4 that I pulled out. So I'm collaging this, and I've sped this up quite a bit because, well, it's kind of boring to watch me collage the same thing. So here's one of the additional scavenger hunt items I included, and that's a piece of blueprint. So that's something blue, and it's kind of got that same denim color as the blue jeans that I'm going to pull in just a little bit. Now, yeah, and I don't know what else I was going to say here. So I'm just collaging. I'm not going to cover this whole board. That's kind of got a plus and a minus for me because I end up seeing a lot of the texture from that canvas, which I don't particularly care for, but at the same time, I knew I didn't need to cover this whole board. All right, that little book I pulled out, I watched a tutorial, I guess, or video from Lisa Young, and she had different ways that she uses her stabilos, and one of them is to mark up an old book and just, I don't know, you'll have to watch her video. I'll try to put a link to it right up above, but that's all that is some stabilo in an old book. And then I've got some painting papers from something, I think that was some excess paint I had that I had just scraped onto a piece of, I don't know, some other book paper. So I am finishing up here. I sped this up to make it not take so long, but I do love my collage, and so I just kept going, and that's what the thing was, is I knew at some point here, I was like, I am not going to waste all of this time filling this up because I know I'll end up probably putting something down that won't even matter what I collage down. And it's true. We're going to cover it all up in just a little bit. So I'm cut out that little bit of that postal barcode from that Tim Holtz rub-on, and I'm going to just kind of stick it down. It's in a couple places. I'm using a bone folder to rub that down, and then I'll peel off the like the acetate that it's stuck to. This one I had a little trouble because the matte gel wasn't completely dry, and I don't know, it wanted to stick to the paper and not, anyway, it wasn't completely down. So I'm going to put a little matte gel over the top of it just to make sure that one stays down. Now this ends up making such a tiny statement because it's just this little bitty tiny barcode that I am going to go and grab. I'm going to stick with the postal theme and go grab some of my stick-on stamps. And when I buy them, there's a whole sticker portion that's just like the barcode and the type of stamp it is written on it. So I'm going to go grab that in just a second and use the sticker that's there of the barcode to stick down just in a couple spots. So we'll get to that in just a second once I get this one up. See, I was having a little bit of time. The texture on that barcode, texture on that canvas board was giving me fits. All right, so I went and grabbed real quick. There's my stamps, and I'm just going to pull up that sticker portion and tear off the barcode from my stamps. And I did this because for one thing, that would be wasted anyway. I try to save those so I can stick them down. And secondly, it's a sticker, so it's easy to just stick down and not have to paste anything down. Now I'm squirting out some matte gel medium. Matte gel, y'all, where are my words today? I am so sorry. That is gesso. That is just some plain white gesso. Is the Dina Wakley. I have just a little bit of that left. I'm trying to use it up so that I've got little bits of gesso all over here. So I'm trying to consolidate. All right, I'm using my little brayer to roll that out. And like I said, I knew I was going to end up covering all this up anyway, and I sure enough did. But for me, using that little bit of gesso helps make all of that kind of become more cohesive and a single thing. So I wanted to add some marks or something, and for some reason this Amsterdam acrylic ink in yellow ochre caught my attention. I knew that I had that piece of rust dyed fabric and then that piece of jeans, and this color to me felt like it would go really well with both of those. So that's why the yellow ochre kind of like jumped out at me. And I've never, no, I can't say I never. I don't often make marks with my acrylic ink. So I was kind of, I don't know, wanted to do something a little bit different. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just using a flat paintbrush, and I go a little crazy, y'all. There are marks all over the page, but it's not really going to matter because I'm going to put another layer of something down to cover up a lot of this. It's, yeah, the end result really, a lot of this is just texture and not something that is like a focal, because I knew that little picture of those kids were going to be my focal. This picture, y'all, oh my gosh, those kids are so cute. I looked at them real quick trying to see if I could draw out a shape that I wanted to doodle with my Stabilo, and I ended up just doing these sort of telly or tic-tac-toe square-ish marks on here. Just something, I knew I needed like some linear on here. And then I'm taking a wet paintbrush, super wet, and not really even going over those lines, just going over the area where I drew those lines just to activate that Stabilo and get some grunginess. And then out comes my instant coffee. So I'm starting by trying to reconstitute or rehydrate what's in my little container there, but it's getting really old. So I knew I needed a little bit more coffee in there. Took me a second to get to it. And I added, y'all, there's no measurement to this. I just dumped in some of that coffee and stirred it up. But I wanted it really strong, so I didn't add a whole lot of water to it. Just made sure that those crystals got dissolved in what was in there. And I did some splatters, and then I'm going to paint on a little bit of this coffee just to get, again, some grunge. I like the grunge of it. I like that coffee kind of accentuates some of the texture of the papers that are down. and I could have done that. That's easy, pretty easy to do also with the Stabilo or any kind of like water soluble thing. As you pull that color out, it'll kind of like snag on the edges of your collage papers that are underneath. And so that's kind of what I was trying to do, get some of that and I don't know that snag is the best word, but it catches on those edges, and the different layers of paper, all those different papers absorb differently. So it gives these neat lines and things like that. So here I'm trying to dry it, but there were little bits and pieces that were bothering me. So I added some and moved it around and got it mostly dry. And what's not dry, I'm just going to pick up with a piece of paper just to go ahead and get rid of some of that excess wateriness on there, because I'm going to come in with my crackle paste. Now this is, I believe it's the Deco Art Media crackle paste, which is impossible to find anymore, but it is a magical crackle paste. I need to start doing a search to find some more crackle paste. This actually is starting to dry up on me because I've kind of just stored it aside knowing that it is hard to find. And yeah, now it's getting kind of chunky on me, and I hate to waste it, so I need to use it. So I am in this. Now you need to remember with crackle paste that the thicker you put it on, the bigger your cracks are. So I've got it on there fairly thick. I'm using that kind of, I don't even know what you call that. It's like a spatula like palette knife that I really like for applying crackle paste because it has that big flat surface. But I'm getting it down, and you can see I have no rhyme or reason to this. I'm really just kind of spreading it over a little bit of everything on that page. And I put it aside to leave it to dry because crackle paste also does a whole lot better naturally drying than it does if you try to use your heat gun to dry it. So I've got it off to the side, and I'm turning to these other elements so that I can build up my focal for this piece of art. So I'm tearing down that little bunny bag, and I was trying to cut just along the seams because it was just folded at the end, and I didn't want to waste that, but I'm going to end up cutting there anyway. Now, picture was damaged, and I didn't like that little bite-sized chunk taken out, so I tore it across to give it kind of more of a natural tear. And I'm going to end up putting my kids over the top of that bunny face. Partly because I knew that that was the one portion of that bag that I would never use unless I covered it up somehow. So I figured, let me go ahead and do it. This picture is the perfect exact size to go over that bunny face, and that way I don't have to worry about it later. So yeah, I am fiddling with that and fiddling with that. And then I grab my jeans, my old jeans. Now, these were some that I had wore holes in, so I didn't go out and buy some good jeans and tear them up. These are actually just some of mine that I didn't know what else to do with, so I kept them to work into my art. And you'll see I just tore a straight strip there, and I just wanted to layer it behind these kids as my something blue, because I have blue all throughout that kind of faded out background, but I wanted to bring the blue back out. So I'm going to go ahead and tack down my picture with my glue stick because I was fairly sure I wanted to do some sewing somehow on this. Just a little bit of something to give it additional texture. And so once I've got it tacked down, I go and I grab some black embroidery floss, and I went ahead and threaded my needle and tied a knot, and I am just going to do a whip stitch, which is basically, going around the edges, going, in your cloth and then out the other out. And tends to be a little bit of an angled stitch. I actually looked that up before I did this video to make sure whip stitch was the right term. But I'm just going up one edge, and then I'm going to go kind of like put my needle in behind the picture there. So I'm looking at it, trying to decide if I just want to do that one edge and then go to the other side. And I'm just going to do a couple of stitches on the other side because I knew I was going to put that fabric Anyway, I didn't want it to be too perfect. I wanted some kind of asymmetry to it. So I just did a few stitches on that one side, and now I'm tying this off. And that was 6 strands of embroidery floss, so I wanted it kind of really to be dark and to make that statement. And so that's why I did all 6 instead of breaking the embroidery floss down. All right, now I'm showing you my crackle is done. It is great. I'm not even going to highlight those cracks because some of the coffee and all of that kind of soaked in there. But I needed some more contrast on here, so I grabbed my Black Indie ink and a fan brush, which is my favorite thing to use to make splatters. And y'all, I'm just splattering this page just for a little extra contrast, since I did put that black embroidery floss on my picture and there's so much black in the picture. I need some black brought back onto this canvas board. And I'm also going to frame up the canvas board using my Stabilo. And I'm just going around the edge there a little bit, and then I'll grab a my wet paintbrush and just activate that to frame it up. And then I'm going to dry this whole page. Yep, just like that. And in certain areas, I'm going to make sure that Stabilo is a little bit darker, just because I don't want it super consistent. I want this to feel fairly organic and natural, and just have that grungy feel to it. So like this corner there somehow got super dark, and that is perfect. Again, I wanted a little natural feeling. So I'm gonna dry this, and then I decided I wanted to distress that denim. It was too perfect. The only thing I'd really done is tore it off my jeans, so I want to alter it. So I have a little bit of that yellow ochre still left in my palette pan there, and so I splashed that on there. It ends up just soaking in. For some reason, the yellow does, but I've got the I think that's titanium white, the Liquitex acrylic ink, and it does a little bit better. So I'm going to get a different brush because I was afraid between the black and the yellow that were all in there, it would just muddy it. And so the white, as you can see, does a whole lot better on there. Not all of it stays visible in the end, but yeah, I'm going to dry it right there. And then we're going to start assembling this focal. And what I'm going to do is use some, I think it's called Super Heavy Matte Gel. I'll have it in the links below, but it's heavier than my regular matte gel medium. And I'm going to use a palette knife to apply it. And you're going to see how thick this stuff is. Yeah, and I don't know if that's because I hardly ever use it and it's gotten a little chunky like my crackle paste has, or if it's because that's how thick it usually is. Like I said, I don't use it very often. Alright, so I'm just sticking that straight onto my board, and I'm going to use the same stuff on the back of my picture as well, and I'm also going to use it on, I've got a Tim Holtz chip quote that I'm going to stick down that I thought went perfectly with these joyous, happy, laughter-filled little boys from this picture that, I don't know, they just make me smile when I look at them. Now, I'm going to remind you that this is a challenge from the 4 ladies, from Lisa, Tina, Laura, and Melanie. I'm going to have links to all of their Instagram and any of their YouTubes that I can find, so you can see what they made for this scavenger hunt. And go over to Instagram and follow the hashtag #SeekGatherCreate to see what everybody else has been making with and what 4 items they used. Alright, so here I am putting down that chip quote that says, find joy in the ordinary. And like I said, these 2 kids are so joyous to me that this, as soon as I saw this sentiment, I was like, that is it for this art piece. Alright guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions, and keep on crafting on. Thanks for watching. Bye.